Welcome back to Principles of Change, brought to you by SmartPass. Today, we are joined by Ashley Moore, better known to many as Principal Mo. Ashley is an award-winning educator, nationally certified principal mentor, and transformational leader with more than 15 years of experience driving change in public education. From launching innovative programs in STEM and arts integration to mentoring leaders across the country, Principal Mo's work centers on equity, creativity, and student empowerment. She is also at the forefront of bringing AI into school leadership, helping educators reimagine what's possible through technology. So whether she is keynoting national conferences or leading from the front lines, Ashley's mission is to unlock the full potential of every student and educator. And I am so excited to have you here, Ashley, or Principal Mo. Welcome to Principles of Change.
Thank you for having me.
Really excited to have you here and looking forward to getting into this conversation. So you have been recognized as both a Heart of the Schools honoree and a Connected School Leader. When you think about those titles, what do they reflect about how you lead and what matters most to you?
Well, when I think about those two things, one, I don't like a lot of awards. I don't like a lot of attention, believe it or not. Especially for the work that I do, it's the work, right? We're here to make sure we get our hands dirty, make sure the kids are learning and that they're successful, not just in your school, but once they leave your school walls, you want to make sure that, you gave your students that right footing to go out and do whatever it is they want to do. So, but when I think about those particular awards, I just think about the impact, right? And recently for Principals Day, my staff had my middle schoolers, because I have elementary and middle school students, they created a Padlet and almost every single middle schooler wrote something very personal. It wasn't like just, oh, happy Principals Day. It was like, thank you for letting me use your refrigerator. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing all these things. And so the one thing that I always think about, especially when I'm recognized for anything, and I think Maya Angelou said this, is people are not going to remember, what you always did, but they're always going to remember how you made them feel. And so I just want people to remember me as making them feel good, making them feel empowered, making them feel like they are the best that they could be, whether that's a student, whether that's a teacher, whether it's a colleague or somebody that I'm mentoring. I just want them to feel that they are supported. And I think that is what is reflected in the awards that I've been recognized for so far.
So I did a little bit of my homework. And okay. I caught you on another podcast, did my homework, Principal Mo, so hopefully you'll be proud. And you said something that I thought was so powerful because, a lot of people, especially if you're in a position like principal and, the leadership value that everybody sees you having, there are a lot of people that feel like perfection is the utmost and highest thing you achieve there. You have to show that you are not making mistakes, that you have it all together all the time. And you said something that I thought was so profound, talking about being vulnerable in leadership is a strength, that it is okay to let people see the human side of things. Tell me about that. Why is it so important to you?
I think that was a pivotal time in my journey in leadership and in the principalship itself, because I have been a principal now pre, during, and post-pandemic. So Principal Mo before the pandemic, Principal Mo during the pandemic, and Principal Mo now are three different people, right? Three different leaders, because schools are different now. The way that we have to lead is different. And if you're adaptive in that way, if you were the same principal you were pre-pandemic, there were so many things that shaped and changed me. And one of those things was being more vulnerable. I was not a vulnerable person. I still kind of am not. I'm working through that in therapy, but that was something that I had to really work on to really tap into the humanity of my staff. Because what I think happens, or what used to happen, is that kids and adults, they think like you're this robot and you can do and you can do and you can do and you can get this done. And I can ask you for this and this and this and this and this and this. And it doesn't stop. And so during the pandemic, I'm on Zoom with my staff. We're still trying to figure out what's going on. It's like April 2020. We have no idea what's happening. We don't know when we're going back to school. We're all sad because we're not back in school, because we were really, really bummed that school was halted. Like, my whole staff, we were upset because we were having a fantastic year that year. And we just all wanted to go back to school. We all wanted to be around each other. We just wanted this whole COVID thing to go away. And so one thing that my staff didn't know is how much I was doing behind the scenes during that time. I was Geek Squad. I was supporting them, hosting the virtual happy hours. We were on a Zoom call and we were all crying our eyes out because, we're all sad. We want to go back to school. And this is the first time that they actually saw me cry. Now, mind you, this was 2020. I had started being a principal at my school in 2017. So this is the first time they had ever really saw me show any real emotion. And then I got a knock on the door from one of the board members from one of the committees that nominated me for the Heart of the Schools. And they were like bringing me a gift. And after that all happened, I had a couple of meetings with different staff members, and they were just like, we didn't realize how much you were carrying. We didn't realize how much you were dealing with. Let us help you. Let us. And so then that's when I realized I was trying to do entirely too much. And I was trying to take on the burden of so many different things when I have all these wonderful people around me that I can, enrich and help them grow their capacity in leadership, whether that's virtually or in person. And it really helped me open up my eyes to me not being able to carry everything, but not carrying every single little thing. You don't have to do all of the things. And I feel like as principals, that's how we feel. But what happens is when you start doing all the things and when you start being the only person, then you leave people behind in the mission, because then they don't have ownership of that. You do. And so it took being vulnerable to have that moment of reflection to understand that. And nobody thought any less of me because I cried and then I admitted that I needed help, or that I acknowledged that I even needed help with some of the things that I was dealing with. I had a community that wrapped around me, very much how like I support other people. I had a support for myself. And so it really helped us create a stronger bond as a staff. And it really helped me understand that, like, it's okay to be human. Things are messy and things are not perfect.
Yeah, we all like to think that we can handle everything, but it's humanly impossible, right? And I love the fact that you said, you know what, it is okay to ask for help. And not only does it make us stronger as individuals, but it also strengthens the people around us who are now given those duties, and it lets them get a bit of ownership, as you said. So your leadership journey has included teaching, special education, and district level innovation. So how have all of those roles shaped your perspective on what schools and school leaders need most right now?
I will say one thing, it's something simple, but it's also very complex: stability. And I think that that's something that we all need right now. And not just like, okay, stability, student discipline or something like that. I'm talking about like stability in terms of society, knowing what is or isn't going to happen with education, because we're trying to service children and make sure that they have what they need. And right now our budgets are all over the place. As I talk to my colleagues, that's very unstable. So that's just like two examples. Or like, for example, the standards are changing again. And it's like, once we learn something and we get good at it, something changes, and then something changes, and then something changes. And it seems like everything changes at once. So stability would be nice. But what I'm also learning in this ever-changing landscape is that change is constant, and it's not just constant, it's rapid. So then what also people need to be able to do is be adaptive and be given permission to be adaptive, because being adaptive in leadership, it doesn't look like traditional leadership. And so a lot of times, like, you'll have either your supervisor or like a mentor or somebody who's been doing this for a long time. And leadership looks very different to them from when they sat in this seat or when they had this position. And that's just how much leadership has changed. So sometimes leaders just need to be able to be adaptive and respond and evolve based on what's happening around us. I can go on and on. I just know stability is one. And the permission to adapt and evolve with this ever-changing environment, that's another thing. If it can't be stable, at least let us move around and figure it out.
Yeah. Well, speaking of figuring things out and change, was there a pivotal moment maybe or experience that made you realize that you were meant to lead at a broader level beyond the classroom?
So I always tell this story, and it's a funny story. It's kind of a long story, but the long and short of it is that somebody had to see something in me to push me to that next level before I could see it for myself. And so when and this is also very funny. So I was in the state of Pennsylvania. In 1 week, I had gotten pink slipped for my teaching position, which is rare. You rarely get laid off from teaching positions. But we were in a very similar financial situation where we're in now, where now we're surplusing or laying off teachers. So I was pink slipped, engaged, and then hired at another place in Maryland, at a school in Maryland. So that all happened in a week. It's a heck of a week. So that all happened in a week's time. And so when I moved to Maryland, I had just finished getting my master's degree in ed leadership, but I was more so focused on the special education supervisor concentration that I had selected for my master's program. I only did ed leadership because they were like, oh, if you only take these 3 extra courses, you could also be eligible to be certified for administration. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll take that 3 extra classes, but that's not what I'm interested in. So I was never really interested in being an assistant principal or a principal or any type of school leadership. I was always deeply invested in special education. And so when I came to my school in Maryland, and I was naturally leading collaborative planning. And as a special education teacher, that was a big deal. So I'm leading collaborative planning. I'm talking to people how they can modify assignments, how they can accommodate kids, what co-teaching looks like. People are coming in our classroom, me and a couple of my co-teachers, and we're modeling co-teaching, what it looks like, not just, one teacher leads, one teacher assists. We were actually co-leading lessons together. We were doing tandem teaching. We were doing all the different models in our classroom. I mean, we were rocking. And so, but the instructional leadership side of me was recognized by my special education department chair, and then a regional assistant superintendent. And so my special education department chair, she was like, well, you should see if you're eligible for admin, because I think you should be admin. And I was like, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's okay. That's the correct path for me to go on. I was like, I'm just happy being a classroom teacher, and I have always been happy teaching. And so once she encouraged me to do that, it turns out I had the endorsement, and then she encouraged me to go into the assistant principal pool. And I was in the assistant principal for just a little bit. And then I interviewed for a special education DC position at another school, and I got hired there. But that same regional assistant superintendent was in my interview for the special education department chair position. And so, unbeknownst to me at that time, he found out I was also in the AP pool, and he started quickly interviewing me for assistant principal positions. So it was just the way the stars kind of lined up for me. But also just acknowledging all of the people along the way who helped me see things for myself that I didn't see. Because I think leadership is something that has just come naturally to me. And, I'm a big sister. I'm the oldest. I'm the only girl. So there's some things that are just innate and natural. But I think that the people that helped me along the way were the ones that really said, hey, this is what you kind of need to do. And then once I got into the role, I was like, you're right. Because I was always the type of teacher that I would always lead from whatever seat I was in. And if I saw a need, I'll always fill it. So, and I always say those are the like two major prerequisites for going into leadership. If you want to go into leadership, you don't wait for the title to be a leader. You lead wherever you are.
That's so great. And I think it's so funny that you just got those extra classes because, okay, well, I might as well do it. It's kind of like you buy one for $4 or two for $5. It's like, well, why not?
Yeah, why
It's
not? Why not the three extra? Yeah.
So you have led transformative programs like accelerated learning, arts integration, and gifted and talented program. How do you decide where to innovate, and how do you ensure equity stays at the center of it all?
So learning where to innovate. Well, I always look at the school first. What's our vision? What's our mission? And what is it that we're supposed to be focusing on? So I've actually been in a couple of different schools that have had different focuses. So when I was an assistant principal, the focus of that school was STEM. And so one of the things that we actually worked on was making certain that students with disabilities were also being tracked to take the higher level honors courses and things of that nature. And instead of saying, okay, these students can't do it, or this is too complex for them, or to quote, dumb down the curriculum, unquote, because those are like quick Band-Aid solutions that people come up with. It's about what type of support is necessary for them to reach that level or have access to that level of curriculum. And what I was able to do in watching and leading that process, I was able to adapt it to the school that I'm currently at. Like currently my middle school is all honors classes. And so, and that's a big deal for students in my school because it means that we're setting them up for more success later on, especially when they get to high schools, because the type of courses you take in middle school dictate where you go to high school. And we all know that when you go to high school dictates what you do secondary. So right now for our students, middle school is where life starts. That's where you have to make very sound and key decisions to make sure that you're successful beyond high school. And so when we talked about the equity piece, we realized we had one section of honors and then one section of gen ed. And we noticed that the high schools, that the students who had honors courses, they were going to the top 5 high schools in our city. And then the other ones who were gen ed were not. And so we said, we're creating inequity in our school, and that's a problem. And so what we did is I was like, well, in my old school, we used to do this. We used to make sure that they had the resources and support to be successful so that they could get in those honors classes. And so they could, reach the same level as honors class of the kids in honors classes and access that honors curriculum. So we sat down and we talked about, okay, what resources and support do students need? Okay, they need access to the intervention teacher. The intervention teacher needs to be in the classroom co-teaching with the classroom teacher. They need additional coach classes or additional tutoring. They need, assistance with organization. Whatever it was that we felt that they needed at that particular time and to help them access that curriculum, that's what we put in place.
Let me ask you this, though, because you talk about, this is a transformative part of what was being done and how you're making changes. So how do you build buy-in from staff and community when you want to implement big, bold ideas that may challenge the traditional systems that are already in place?
Well, I often have a lot of crazy ideas, but systemically, once again, it's all about your vision and your mission. So your vision and your mission, it's who you are. It's your promise to your community. It's your identity. And it helps you maintain your integrity, right? This is what we say we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. So if our vision is, and the vision of my school is that we want all students to be at or above grade level. So if we want all students to be at or above grade level, they can't have mediocre instruction. That means that we have to provide additional resources and support for those students who are below grade level to get on grade level. So whenever we talk about changes with curriculum or changes with any type of innovative strategies or innovative programming that's happening in our school, that's where we go to. We actually have a decision-making process, and it's all about, this is our vision, this is our mission, these are our core values. How does this new thing align with that? And because we all know what those are, we're like, yep, we have to do it because that aligns perfectly with our vision, mission, and core values.
Yeah, I want to talk about, we have a little section we call changing the game. And this is so important because I think it's so inspiring to so many people listening here. So if you had to pick one, and there's probably a lot more than one, but what is one change that you've made at your school that was a real game changer?
Introducing my staff to artificial intelligence applications. That's been a huge game changer right now. Life changing for some of my teachers. Like some of my teachers that would like noticeably, like, you know, they're bogged down. There's a lot of work for them to do. They're happy. They're smiling. They're like, I figured out how to use AI to make my workload just a little manageable. Yeah, I still have to do the work, but I don't have to take so much work home every day, or I'm actually able to plan my lessons during my planning period. So one of the things that has really changed the game for us is introducing those different applications that use artificial intelligence to, one, help us differentiate and meet the need of students, scaffold and make curriculum accessible and skills and standards accessible for all students. And additionally, just lightening the workload and just making things more manageable for staff. A good old A1 teaching, but but I think that's really been a game changer because I have seen a noticeable change. I had one teacher even said, you teaching us how to use this stuff has changed my life. I did not think I was going to be able to teach next year because I was like so burdened with work, and I'm happy to come to work every day.
So I want to play devil's advocate for a moment because there is a lot of fear and hesitation when it comes to AI in education. So how do you help educators see AI as a tool for empowerment and not replacement? Because we do have a lot of hesitation there, right?
Absolutely. I think the way that you kind of ease people's fears, because I've had some people say, oh, I don't want to use it. I don't want to use that. Very, very strong. And so what I do is I just show them how I use it. I just show them that I'm like, name one thing that if it could be taken off your plate or if it could be reduced, you would be like, it would send you over the moon. And so usually, you know, given people's different positions, I like figure out what it is that they need help with or what can lighten their load. I have one teacher, she spends tons of time on these beautiful PowerPoints, beautiful. And I was like, I know a way that can help you make those faster. And she was like, no, you don't. I was like, I do. I promise you. And I was like, and what if you didn't have to spend all those time on presentations? You could be doing something else with your time. And she was just like, nah, I don't know about this. And so I said, okay. I said, just give me 5 minutes. That's all I need. And so I showed her one app. It's called GIM app. And I was like, tell me about the presentation you want. And she wanted to teach the students how to conduct research about mosaics. They were doing like research about mosaics and some other things. So I prompted it and it spit out a 15 slides for her presentation.
It's amazing, isn't it? And until you see it in play, you don't realize the power.
Yeah, and her mouth was her jaw was on the floor. And I was like, okay, pick your jaw up. All right, so let's talk about you using this so you can spend less, so you don't have to have all these sleepless nights. Because she's somebody that enjoys going to school. And she was like, well, she's like, I thought it was all bad. I was like, it's not bad. I said, you have to think about it in a way that makes sense. You know, for the longest time, we've been telling students critical thinking is how, we learn and how, we access higher levels of thinking. But I frame it in a way where we're using AI because you have to know the right things to ask. So now it's just from critical thinking to critical inquiry. And so also telling teachers, like, we have to start teaching our kids how to use this, because if we don't, we're really truly not equipping them for the future, because this is the future. AI is here. It's not going anywhere. So we need to learn how to work with it, or we're going to get left behind. And in turn, our students are going to be left behind. And that's not fair to them. So yeah, so I think just having that bravery of modeling it too is also helpful. And then I can then show them, this is how you use it for this. This is how you use it for that. And then some of them come to me and say, oh, I asked it to do this and I asked it to do that and it did this and I got this output. So, it's really exciting because it spreads like wildfire. And that's the type of stuff that you want to spread in your school. Like, people learning about something, people being excited about learning about something new, and then them trying it, doing that risk taking. That's what you want in a school. That's why it's such a game changing thing for us, especially since, and this cracks me up, like, secretly. When I first started at my school, nobody knew how to use Google Drive, Gmail, none of it. So I have been on a very long journey in terms of teaching my staff how to be more technologically savvy and how to include more instructional tech. So that has been a journey. And so to see where our teachers are now in terms of, using more artificial intelligence and using different tools, I'm ecstatic because of what we have so far.
Well done. So let me ask you this as a follow-up to that. What advice would you give to a new or emerging leader who wants to be innovative, but they don't know where to start? Because innovation is great, right? But putting it into practice and making people jump on board is a different story sometimes, right?
It is. And so what you have to do is you have to establish a strong sense of trust. That's the first thing. So the first thing to being innovative is people have to trust you. And so what I find is that I will say the craziest stuff. And I know I say the craziest stuff. And I know they say, this lady is crazy. And I get it. Like, I know sometimes I say things that are left field. But they'll be like, you know what? We're going to do it. Because, usually her ideas work, or or I know that I can contribute to make it work, or this, so I think you really have to have that trust factor with your staff. So, and sometimes that trust takes time. I mean, trust takes all the time to build it and then 2 seconds to lose it. So once you establish that trust and you have that trust, that's what you really need. That's like the heart of innovation is trust. There's actually a book called The Speed of Trust, and it talks about how trust helps not even just leaders, just people in general be more innovative. So that's really that's the heart of it, because then once people trust you and they know that you're going to support them through the change, and they know that they can also contribute to the change, whether that's providing feedback, whether that's, them getting their hands dirty and building their capacity with that, they're all in.
You've already accomplished so much, but what's next for Principal Mo? What's the legacy that you are building toward?
So I've been writing a book. I'm nearly done. So that's going to be really exciting. I've stepped out of my comfort zone. Believe it or not, I have always said that I'm not like a huge presenter, talker. And so I've been thwarted into it. And so I really do enjoy it. So I'm definitely doing a lot more speaking in the future. And that's really exciting because once again, it's a new space and I'm excited about it. And I mean, there's just a lot more to come, but I can talk to you about the book and about the speaking.
I love it. And principalmo.com, right, is your website that people...
Yes. Principal Mo everything. Yeah, principalmo.com.
Yep, Principal Mo, so we can learn about the book. So rapid fire, last 2 questions here. If you could wave a magic wand and transform one thing about the education system tomorrow, what would it be and why?
Limited access to resources.
Yeah. I mean, so few words and very powerful. It's like, okay, period. Like, that's great. Okay. So last question. What keeps you grounded and inspired on the hard days? And I know there are a lot of great days, but you also have those tough days. It's like, why am I doing this? So what gives you hope for the future of our schools from what you've seen and what you've experienced?
This is going to sound really crazy. Going to a pre-K or kindergarten classroom and you see like what they look like. And in my case, I've seen my kindergartners grow from kindergarten to now 7th grade and 1st grade to 8th. So to see what you are able to shape and who you're able to shape, and it's just their innocence and their honesty are kind of what keeps me going. But that keeps me grounded. Like, some people say you need to go out and touch grass. Go to a kindergarten class. Just like, and just to see them be curious and ask questions and, just to be these like little sponges that, soak up everything. But like on the hard days, like that's when I go to a kindergarten classroom and or a pre-K classroom and just interact with them. And it's just like, this is why I do what I do. Now, I'm sorry if you go to middle school, go to 6th grade, but or if you're in high school, go to 9th, but just go to your lowest grade level class.
We won't talk about the grades not to go to. That's on another podcast. Ashley Moore, better known as Principal Mo. I have so enjoyed this. You are a delight. And I love the wealth of experience that you bring to your students, to your team. Can't wait to hear and read the book, hear about it when it's out. So once again, you go to principalmo.com and find her, Principal Mo, everywhere. So Ashley, your real name, which I know a lot of people don't use, but Ashley Moore. Ashley, thank you so much for being here. And Principal Mo is just going, and you're doing so much. And congratulations to you, and congratulations on the book.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely. I want to thank all of you for tuning in and listening. Principles of Change is brought to you by SmartPass, the digital hall pass solution that replaces traditional pass systems to increase student accountability, minimize disruptions, and maximize class time, which we all need. With SmartPass, schools can monitor hallway traffic data and get real-time information about all the students in the building outside of class to prevent issues like wandering, class cutting, vaping, and more. And of course, you can check out more on the website. And of course, we would like to encourage you to follow additional episodes of Principles of Change. If you enjoyed this conversation, and how could you not? We would like to invite you to hear other engaging conversations like the one you heard today. I'm your host, Michelle Dawn Mooney. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope to connect with you on another podcast soon.